Gentlemen, let's move forward because I think we're all here to get something off of our chest. I think that's the main reason for this welcome back show after a long, extended Thanksgiving break. I must ask you guys, why is Ryan Day the coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes? Is flag planning okay? And everything that else goes around that. But let's focus on Ryan Day first. We'll go into flag planning a little bit later, and then we'll cut to break and come back. John, why is Ryan Day the coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Yeah, I could answer in three words. I don't know. I remember when they hired him, they were like, he's an OC and he played here and he did this and that. And I was like, we are the Ohio State University. We pretty much get whoever we want from college and damn near whoever we want from pro with all of the established names who could have been available, should have been available, might have been available. I thought it was really fast to name Ryan Day because he went like 3-0 as an interim coach. But the day they said Ryan Day was getting the keys to the castle, I said, I guess they know better than me, but I don't understand why we went with this guy when there could have been other options. I mean, open it up, interview some people, and see what you get.
Well, I mean, I think you should keep in mind, though, that he was Urban's pick. Urban was handing over those keys to Ryan Day, and he was kind of the hand-picked heir. I'm not saying that that makes your points invalid, but it was being handed over from the national championship winning coach.
Do you think? Go ahead, no.
I mean, I get why they hired him. I understand the lineage of moving forward that way. I'm just at the point now where I don't get why he's here. Because I know it's been said on the national media and in Cleveland and Columbus sports talk. If he doesn't win a national championship this year, he has to be gone, right?
Fired.
He has to be cut. And I don't know who that fix is. We had a podcast a couple episodes back where we talked about. Didn't you name Bill Belichick, Eric?
I did.
That was you, John?
I don't know if we can get him, but you should ask the question.
I think if it's me, I think we're being a little, at the time we were being a little facetious with some of what we were saying, but the point remains that it is the Ohio State University. There are seldom jobs that come up that have more prestige. We have the money, we have the boosters and the support. I mean, we could hire Bill Belichick as the defensive coordinator. He might not even be head coach. I think that's the point. But to your original question, what are we doing with Day? I've been an ardent supporter of Day. And you guys know my philosophy on this. If you're going to fire a coach, you need to have somebody in mind, a replacement that's going to be better. The fact is, Ryan Day has won a lot of football games. But after what I saw Saturday, I was texting you guys in the group thread. I have moved firmly into the fire Ryan Day camp. The only way he saves his job is with the national championship. The guy was coaching scared. I don't know what that was. The entire freaking country watching said, oh, another halfback draw. That makes sense. Let's do that on 3rd and 8. That was one of the worst coach games I've ever seen. He's coaching it scared, and he is now John Cooper light. He has lost 4 in a row, and that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think that's the long and short of the frustration here is the 4 losses to Michigan in a row, never winning the big game. Oregon even plays a role into this with, the clock management and Will Howard sliding at the end. I mean, to me, I'm just very much over Ryan Day as a head coach here, unless somehow, some way they make the playoff run of the century and win the first 12-team playoff.
I think they can win a national championship.
Talent. Yeah.
And I will say one of our office mates, who is an OSU alum, said that if we win the national championship, it will be a little bittersweet in that it won't be as good. And I disagree with that completely. I think the Natty, especially as we expand to the 12, the Natty is the premier thing. And if we go on to win that, yeah, it sucks we lost to Michigan. Yes, it sucks we haven't played for a Big Ten championship in years. But winning the national championship puts all that in the rear view. It doesn't change the goal for next year. We're 300 and some odd days away from Michigan again. That's a huge ass game. But in no means would that accomplishment be diminished.
It wouldn't be greatly diminished, but it would go from a 100% season to a 90 or 90.
But here's the thing: do you not think college football has changed? Because
it doesn't matter if college football changed. If college,
I know you got to win that game.
Great. There are 3 things you have to do as the head coach at Ohio State. You have to beat Michigan, you have to win the Big Ten, and you have to win national championships in that order. A guy who could come in and lose to Michigan 4 times in a row, I would tell you this, to flip it on its head. If you said we can give you a guy who's going to consistently lose to Michigan, but make the playoff and give you a shot at a national championship, or we can give you a guy who's going to come in every year and lose 1, 2, or 3 games, but he's going to beat Michigan every year. That's all Jim Tressel was. People love him and they can't stand Ryan Day. Jim Tressel had some years where if Ryan Day had him right now, we'd be like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Did he?
You have to.
He competed for 3 national championships and won 1 of them. Ryan Day hasn't done that.
Ryan Day did also national. You gave it Georgia
1.
Yeah, that's all Tress competed for it.
Well, no, Tress competed for 3.
Yeah,
and won 1 of them.
Different. That's not the same because there were only 2 teams who made the national championship.
I was going to say the difference is the playoff structure.
No, it's not. It is. The Big Ten was so much worse back then, and they put that Ohio State team in. We got our doors blown off by Alabama and LSU. It was
LSU and Florida.
Florida, excuse me. Yes.
Doors blown off for Day against Alabama.
Yeah. And kudos to Ryan Day for competing against Georgia. I actually thought we were going to win that game, but no, man.
Heartbreaker on New Year's Eve, man.
That's the thing, though, that's so frustrating about Ryan Day, because we know the record outside of Michigan. We see those close games. He can coach his head off. That game against Georgia proves that. He can go out there and make the right calls and be gutsy, and it's reminiscent sometimes of Ohio State versus Alabama when we won the national championship. Urban Meyer called a hell of a game.
There's one thing that's always true. A test of a man is not what he does when things are going well. A test of a man is what he does when things are going poorly. And in the season where we already lost to Oregon and then we lost to Michigan as 4 touchdown favorites or something crazy, the teams were fighting it the middle of the field, and Ryan Day was standing in the shadows wondering what was going on. That is not a leader of men. That is not a builder of young men into adults, and that is not what we're looking for in the head coach at The Ohio State University.
I agree.
And I think that's a good transition because you already kind of brought it up. Is flag planting okay? This has been a topic of debate, not just with Ohio State, right? This has been a thing with other games, other rivalry games. Arizona State, I believe, was an example of this as well, where,
there were 4. NC State in North Carolina as well.
Where the team, that's a way, wins the game, plants their flag in the middle of the field because they won. Do you think that it's okay? I want to know because I tend to agree that it's okay. I have my own reasoning for that, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
No, I'll let Eric go first, but I just want to say one thing that pisses me off because I don't want to derail us later. Planting a flag in field turf is stupid no matter what you're doing.
Oh, I agree. 100%. 100%.
I'm so over it. But why don't you take it first?
I'm so split on this because on the one hand, I want to say, you know what? You had 4 quarters to defend that field and you didn't do shit. And I shouldn't say that because the defense actually did defend it well. It was our offense that let us down, but you had 4 quarters to defend it. Maybe worry about that team during those 4 quarters and you won't have to worry about the flag planting. That said, I don't hate what I saw out of the Buckeyes. Yeah, was it probably out of frustration? Sure. But I don't hate that they stopped them from disrespecting our home field. Like to John's point, I dislike that the head coach was nowhere to be found asking what's going on. But just for the sake of these young men and these fights, and I think the police actually did a very good job, say what you will about using mace, but I think they could have had a full-scale riot on their hands. When you have 100,000 people and it's starting to go down, that could have went south really quickly. And for that reason alone, I think that you just need to stop it. It's a stupid practice. Let's get rid of it. I don't think it adds anything that it's worth having.
John, I'm going to jump in here real quick. Normally, I go last. Let me take you guys on a quick trip down memory lane. Senior year, Noah's playing high school football. Rivalry game. Ashtabula St. John.
It's like 4 years ago.
I was going to say it was 2019. I wouldn't call it a trip down memory lane. But
2018, damn it. 2018.
God.
Ashtabula, St. John, and Fairport have always been a rival. It's just been a thing. Always. Never beat them in my high school career. We beat them handily. It was like 27-10 or something like that. I don't know. We planted the flag in the middle of their field. It was the best moment of all time. So to me, being a former player, if you can't back it up and you're going to lose a rivalry game at home when you're the favorite, suck it up. And that's coming from an Ohio State fan. Suck it up.
Yeah, but there's something to be said about winning with class too.
It's not a class
Act
thing
like you've been
anymore,
there.
It's not. They were there. They've won a national championship more recent than we have.
That was fraudulent. That's an asterisk.
I agree, but they technically have, and we can say that. But in the eyes of the NCAA and the greater sports, whatever, it's technically not.
It's going to sound elitist and arrogant, and I don't care because it's how I feel. So deal with it. You should be able to plant a flag in most fields in most cities and most colleges. But if you walk on the block O and try to do something disrespectful, Ohio State, I think you're our right to defend your turf. I don't love the view of a bunch of kids who are between 18 and 24 fighting. I don't love the view of violence outside of football being acceptable or violence in general being acceptable. But I don't want to judge this as an almost 40-year-old guy who has kids. I want to think back to what it's like to be 19 and lose a game that means a ton to you. And Michigan won the game. And had Michigan planted the flag in the end zone, I don't believe there would be an issue. If they waved the flag on the sideline, I don't believe there is an issue. If you've ever been to Ohio State, they cone and caution tape and section off the block O when it's painted on grass. When it's on field turf, it's a sacred ground where alumni come to take pictures and stuff like that. For it to mean that much to 110,000 people and to millions of Buckeye fans across Ohio, and to watch your rival who beat you walk out and try to plant a flag in middle field, and for you to walk out and push them off and say celebrate wherever you want, but not on the block O, I support that. And I support the police who had pepper spray ready because there's 200 people in uniform. This ain't the NFL. You can dress whoever you want in college. They kept it under control, but I think everybody who's saying this was deplorable and this was awful and you can't have violence is going to watch the hype video for Ohio State, Michigan next year and remember the pepper spray and go, yeah, that's what makes this the greatest rivalry in football. So let's don't overreact. Nobody's wrong. Teenagers fighting over football at the end of a game is not a good look. But did I have an issue with it? No. Do not plant a Michigan flag at center field at Ohio State. And if
I agree.
You don't like the results, don't do it.
There are 2 points that I want to make that just to counter you. And I agree completely with what you're saying. The 2 points are 2 years ago, Michigan planted a flag. There was no fight over it. The second point is there are a lot of fans out there, and I'm one of them, but this is exactly why Ohio State fans in Ohio State, I think, is hated, because we do have a very elitist attitude. We should be there. We are the best. We get, we get the short end of the stick often. We're hated for no reason. Alabama's in the playoff when Miami should be. That would never happen with Ohio State. Blah, blah, blah. I think we do ourselves a disservice sometimes, my point, in our condescension.
I was going to say that too, is like, this is my thing. Like, I am so sick of the holier than thou Ohio State attitude. Eric, I know this is your number one team. We've talked about this before on the show and our personal life. I think this is why Ohio State falls so short to me, is because in every other sports franchise that I cheer for, we don't have this attitude like that, right?
It's because we
Ohio State, we're gonna sit here and act all elitist, and I don't know, and that's me getting off topic a little bit.
No, it's not off topic, and I agree with you. I would argue, though, a counterpoint to your counterpoint is that all the teams you root for aren't historically good. The Buckeyes, and what makes me love the Buckeyes, even though I didn't go to Ohio State, is the fact that we are the New York Yankees and LA Lakers and Boston Celtics and Dallas Cowboys of one thing, and it's college football. When I get on a plane with my Buckeyes gear on, I love the fact that people hate me, and I go, shut up. Unless you went to Alabama or Clemson, I don't want to hear it because we're better than you. We don't get to do that with our Yeah, well, anymore historically.
But that's you make a really good point, and I want to pause you there because when we talk about changing coaches and we talk about who's available, and that answer is almost anybody. I don't think this is going to happen. But if any school had sway to pull Nick Saban out of retirement, it's Ohio State.
You bet
If
your ass.
anybody had sway to pull, and I know he's alumni, but to pull Marcus Freeman away from another historically amazing school in Notre Dame, it's Ohio State. And my point in that is that no, there is a level because when Dabo Sweeney leaves Clemson, and he hasn't done much in the last few years, but when he leaves Clemson, there's not going to be that same clamor and excitement of a job opening up. That is reserved for like two schools.
Just to agree with you, they don't know it yet, but when Nick Saban leaves Alabama, they're not going to be the same either. They've lost 3 games. They're getting credit based on past performance, but that program's not going to be the same 5 years.
Oh, no, it's already dying. And who was
right
when Nick Saban left? Was there ever a big fanfare around, okay, who's going to be? I mean, a little bit, but not like Ohio State. It's not the same. And that's why we have that, because the level is here. And every other team in college football is down here. Even Alabama, knowing that Nick Saban's gone. That level does not change for Ohio State, regardless of who's at the top.
And that's why we're elitist, because we're actually elite. I had a professor in college who said
to me— It's a good line.
Yeah, this is another good one. I had a professor in college who would always say to me, how can it possibly be bragging if it's actually true? And I don't know if I agree with him, but I agree with the sentiment. We are Ohio State. You lose a game in an entire season. It's good, but not good enough. You lose 2 games in a season. It's an abomination. You lose 2 games in a season, don't play for the Rose Bowl in the past, don't go to the college football playoff, don't play for a Big Ten championship. We're talking about fireable offenses, and Ryan Day has failed to live up to the standard. I'm not saying that the standard is reasonable or that Ohio State fans are rational. That is not my argument. We're irrational and we're crazy. Fan is short for fanatic. So let's remember that. But when Ryan Day comes in and goes, well, we played pretty well in most of our games, I don't give a shit. Then go coach at Texas or Alabama or Notre Dame where that's acceptable. We compete. We win the Big Ten every year. We beat Michigan damn near all the time. And we are in the conversation for national championship every year. That isn't the case with him. So that's why I'm kind of like okay with it. It's like—
Can we put it in perspective real quick, though?
Yeah, do it.
Outside of Michigan, Ryan Day has lost 1 Big Ten game. And that was this year to Oregon. That's insane. I mean,
that is crazy for sure.
That is insane. It doesn't matter. I agree, but
Guardians have won the AL Central, and you guys are the ones who told me if you play a sport, championships are all that matters, and everything else is a failure. Let's not defend.
You're going to run with this for the. 100%. You're going to run with that for the rest of the.
No. I promise to only run with it until you both say I come off of it.
Do you not believe that about Ohio State?
Do not believe what?
It's beat Michigan, it's win the Big Ten championship, and it's win a national championship.
Yeah,
correct.
If you don't do those 3 things, the season is a failure.
No. Beating Michigan, failure. I agree with that at Ohio State, but you could beat Michigan and be a 500 team. You could compete for a Big Ten.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you can. Michigan just came in here as a 500 team and beat us.
No, I know that, but that's not. I'm saying that.
I see. You're saying all 3.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the level we talked about. So you agree when it comes to Ohio State. You just don't agree with other teams or leagues.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Okay.
One quick thing though, I don't want to come off this. Actually, I love this debate. This is fun. This is why we do the show. I think I can solve it with the flag planting.
Solve what? Ohio State's coaching woes?
I was going to say, who's the answer?
Like, he's got the answer. Just hire this guy right now.
Go down 3 levels to what started this round of this conversation. If when Ohio State wins games, they go to the end zone to sing the alma mater. But if when Ohio State loses games, they go to midfield and stand with arms locked and sing it from midfield. You have no violence. People know that's what they're going to do. You walk out to the middle of the field. And I know it's kind of like a different experience for losing a game, which we don't want to get too comfortable with. But I remember my mother-in-law was like, oh, my God, these kids are fighting. It's crazy. And I was like, you lock arms with your brothers. You walk out, you don't throw a single punch, you don't do anything rude, you just keep walking until they're no longer on the O. And the second you get to the edge where that's defended, they can celebrate everywhere else they want to. But if they said, hey, we lost to Michigan, go to the block O and sing the alma mater instead of in the end zone, none of this happens.
I don't hate it, but it just feels so soft.
It
That feels soft.
so soft for sure. Gentlemen,
Well, you said,
I want to ask.
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question that I think we're all going to agree the answer on. I pulled it up for a minute and then we were getting into it, so I didn't want to, cut you guys off too early, but this feels like a good stopping point. Tim Lyons, longtime viewer of the show, asks, do you think if y'all get into the playoffs, Day coaches?
First of all, it's not an if, Tim. We are in the playoffs, and yes, he will coach it. He will be fired in the offseason if he loses. If he comes short of anything but national championship, I think he's let go. But yes, he'll coach.
I'm with you on that 100%. John?
I agree with you guys. I'll throw in a pun just because it's fun and I'm a dad and I like dad jokes. He's a Bengals fan. And he said, do you think Day coaches? And I'm like, who Day?
Oh, God.
That was terrible.
And on that note.
Wait, one more note. Sorry.
This guy, man.
One more note. I will say that we've had some inner office talking about what should be done, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the coaching thing. We've done that. But I do think that there is a position that Ohio State should create and appoint. You could pay good money to it, and you could pull them from the NFL, and that is the position of GM. Now that the transfer portal is what it is, and we have a $20 million team right now, I think we need a professional in place that's going out and finding some of these players, treat it like an NFL franchise. We'll still recruit. We'll run everything else the same. Coaching can obviously have a say in that, but I think we have a GM level position to help bring in some of that talent.
It's not an awful idea. Question just out of curiosity, because I love it. You know how when an offensive coordinator comes onto a team but doesn't get to call the plays, we're like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
If a GM comes into college and doesn't get to recruit talent, what's the point? Do you envision this person recruiting for the coach, or do you just think they collaborate?
It's a level of it that would be like considered I forget what they call it, but think of it only focusing on like the transfer portal side of it, I guess, is how that would work, is what I think.
That's how I see it. Coach would recruit. He is a GM to like make trades, kind of bring in, not drafting, but he is the level to bring in talent. He would obviously work with a coach. Hey, coach says, I need a linebacker. Find me the best linebacker in the country. Find the boosters, et cetera, the money to pay the linebacker to come in, and you go out and do that. It would be separate, and he would make those decisions, but it would be in collaboration with.
I can see Tim, that for sure.
It's not elitist. We're in, buddy. We're in. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.